Story 1. The Blizzard Visitor. I lived in Upper Canada, nestled in a secluded, snowy forest. My cabin wasn't extravagant, but it was large enough to host family during the holidays. The isolation didn't bother me. In fact, I loved it. But the highlight of every year was when my family visited for Christmas. That year, it was my turn to host. My brother and parents were planning to arrive on Christmas Eve, though my parents' flight had been delayed until early Christmas morning. My brother, driving from out of town, assured me he'd make it despite the worsening weather. The day before Christmas Eve, a storm descended, a brutal Canadian blizzard, the kind that blankets the world in white and drowns it in howling winds. Around 6 p.m., my brother called to say he couldn't make it. The roads were impassable. He'd found a motel to wait out the storm. Disappointed but understanding, I settled in for a quiet evening, the wind rattling my windows and the cold seeping through every crack. At around 10 p.m., I prepared for bed. The storm raged outside, the wind roaring like a wild beast. But as I lay under my heavy blankets, another sound emerged, a rhythmic crunching like footsteps in the snow. At first, I thought it was the wind playing tricks on my ears, but the steps were deliberate, slow, and heading toward my cabin. My heart thudded as the crunching stopped near the left wall of my home. I stayed frozen listening. Could it be my brother? I wondered. Perhaps his phone had died, and he'd braved the storm to reach me. But why wouldn't he knock? Why wouldn't he call out? Suddenly, a single knock echoed through the house. It wasn't at the front door. It came from somewhere deeper inside. A chill ran down my spine. I slipped out of bed, grabbing a heavy sweater and quietly creeping down the stairs. The house was eerily silent except for the muffled roar of the wind outside. My flashlight illuminated the hallway. Through the front window, I saw him, a man standing in the snow, staring blankly at my door. His face was pale, his eyes dark hollows. But the moment he noticed me, his demeanor shifted. He began pounding on the door, screaming, "Help me! Let me in!" His voice was desperate, raw. But there was something wrong, something unnatural about the way he moved, like he was a puppet pulled by invisible strings. I grabbed my pistol from the drawer, clutching it tightly as he continued to shout. "Please, I'm freezing out here," he cried, but his tone wavered between pleading and menacing. Then I heard it, the crunch of more footsteps circling the house. My blood turned to ice as I realized he wasn't alone. I bolted upstairs, locking myself in the bedroom. My heart pounded as I heard glass shattering downstairs. The intruders were inside. "Check upstairs," one of them said, his voice almost gleeful. Footsteps echoed on the wooden stairs, each creak tightening the knot in my stomach. I aimed my pistol at the door, trembling. "Gotcha now," a man whispered just beyond the door. He punched it hard, laughing a sick, unhinged laugh. But then, another voice called from downstairs, and both men retreated. The house fell silent, save for the wind. It took me an eternity to gather the courage to leave the bedroom. When I finally did, I found the house ransacked. They had taken valuables, but left no sign of themselves. The next morning, with the storm abated, I told my family and the police. It was the most terrifying night of my life, but I was grateful to be alive. Before we dive deeper into these bone-chilling tales, take a moment to subscribe, like, and share, because trust me, you'll want someone to hold on to when the darkness creeps in. Story 2. Drew's Game. Christmas was always a big family affair. My parents' brother and I would visit my aunt and uncle's house to celebrate with cousins and grandparents. That year, my oldest cousin introduced her boyfriend, Drew, a tall, charismatic guy from out of state. Everyone seemed to like Drew, except for me. I was 10, and something about him made me uneasy. My 6-year-old brother, on the other hand, adored him. They spent hours talking and playing, much to my discomfort. One night, as we were getting ready for bed, I asked my brother why he liked Drew so much. He shrugged and said, "He's fun," but I couldn't shake the feeling that Drew's interest in my little brother was off. That gut feeling turned into full-blown dread on Christmas Eve. I woke up in the middle of the night to find my brother's bed empty. His jacket was gone, too. Panicked, I raced downstairs. The back door was wide open, snow blowing in. Out in the field behind the house, I saw them, Drew and my brother, walking away from the house. Drew's hand was on my brother's shoulder. I called out my brother's name. Both figures stopped. My brother turned and sprinted toward me, tears streaming down his face. "What happened?" I demanded as we ran inside. He wouldn't answer, only mumbling about a game Drew wanted to play. I told my parents the next morning, but Drew denied everything, claiming my brother must have been sleepwalking. My cousin was furious at me for accusing him. Drew never returned to another family gathering. But even now, years later, my brother refuses to talk about that night. Story 3. Santa in the Basement. Christmas in our household was always magical. On Christmas Eve, my wife and I helped our son bake cookies for Santa. After he went to bed, I ate a couple of cookies and placed the presents under the tree. The next morning, our son excitedly opened his gifts, thrilled that Santa had visited. But when I glanced at the cookie plate, my stomach dropped. All the cookies were gone. I asked my wife if she'd eaten them, but she hadn't. Then my son chimed in. Santa ate them. I saw him last night. He said it so innocently, but my wife and I exchanged uneasy glances. What did Santa look like? I asked casually. He was big and scruffy, my son said. A chill ran through me. Someone had been in our house. I searched the main floor, then moved to the basement. It was a cluttered, unfinished space we rarely used. But as I descended, I noticed a strange pile of boxes arranged like a makeshift wall. Heavy breathing came from behind it. My blood froze. A man suddenly rose from behind the boxes, a gaunt, wild-eyed figure. He lunged toward me, and I bolted up the stairs, slamming the door behind me. The police later found out he'd been living there for weeks, eating our food and sneaking around while we slept. Even now, I can't shake the image of that man, the Santa who had watched us from the shadows.